Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Folks, I had lots of people who on my Facebook page who were saying, why are you making a big deal out of there being no black executives at CNN? And then, of course, you had the black folks, Greg, who were saying, why is it that we just don't start our own, as if we actually haven't done that? But I keep saying, why can't we do both? Well, folks, a couple hours ago, the story dropped where the head of WarnerMedia, AT&T, of course, is the parent company. They bought Time Warner, so they merged, and so it's called WarnerMedia. He announced a chief diversity officer is going to be hired. John Stankey said that chief diversity officer is going to report directly to him. He said there was a town hall where he attended, where he was questioned about the issue of diversity and inclusion. And he said it absolutely matters. Now, also was very interesting, the Los Angeles Times, first of all, reported this story, and he sent out a letter. And I'm going to read for you a quote here that I found to be very interesting in the quote. Stankey said on Thursday that WarnerMedia has recently implemented a new talent review and management process designed to identify and promote emerging talent within the company. Joseph, I don't think there's any shock that all of a sudden this position is being created after the National Association of Black Journalists has blasted CNN President Jeff Zucker for no black executive producers, no black vice presidents, no black executive vice presidents, no black senior vice presidents, and no black direct reports. And not only that, we have demanded a civil rights audit of the company as well be examined to look at these very issues. And so, although other media out there may not want to give NABJ credit, because we've been joined by the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, NNPA, Reverend Jackson, Alpha Phi Alpha, we've been joined by so many other groups as well. They are responding to pressure, and this is why I need the black people out there who are listening to shut the hell up and stop acting as if we cannot make demands on a system when we are the ones who are watching and we are the ones who are also making this possible. Joseph.
It matters. I mean, it matters. Diversity matters. It matters in coverage of presidential campaigns. Somebody could argue, and probably credibly will, in a paper or study somewhere, that CNN had a very large hand in helping elect our current president by airing his rallies unfiltered, by not really critically questioning him, and by letting a lot of stuff go by. So it absolutely matters. The one thing that I want to question, however, is whether or not the diversity executive is going to get the kind of power that he or she needs to make real change happen. I mean, we've seen it over and over again where these companies hire diversity. Google was one where they hired a diversity executive, and that person was rendered basically toothless because the system was not invested in change. So that's number one. Number two, there should not be any discussion about why NABJ matters or not, because it absolutely does. Without their calling CNN out, without them spearheading this particular aspect of their coverage, we wouldn't have the kind of progress that we have today. And we need this to keep happening. NABJ matters. Join your chapter, go to the convention, do whatever you need to do to get behind the organization.
Greg Carr, let me be real clear for the folks who don't understand. NABJ is not going, yay, they're hiring a chief diversity officer. We still want to see those black executives. So we are acknowledging this, but we're actually preparing a statement that we're going to be sending out very soon, making it perfectly clear that we are not relenting in our call for black executives, and we still expect to schedule a meeting with AT&T CEO Randall Stephenson, since Jeff Zucker doesn't have the courage to sit down with NABJ because he doesn't want me at the table.
Well, I mean, one thing is for sure, if history has shown us nothing else, it is when the black press acts in unison and black folks support the black press, the non-black press has to respond. That has been true. I mean, you've talked many times on this show about our brother Gerald Horne's book on the rise of the Associated Negro Press. And what we see in NABJ over the decades of its existence is a relentless pursuit of telling our people's stories. And of course, the last thing I say is right here in this venue, you didn't wait. And, you know, it's very popular now to talk about walking and chewing gum at the same time. This is a black venue. The story tonight about what was happening in Atlanta, the conversation about this brother they cut his locks, that story in Jersey, it's not going to be on CNN or MSNBC or any other places. But the fact that it is here and that it's in the black press and it's all over the country and now through the internet, what that means is CNN, if they want to stay relevant, they will eventually have to have that meeting, and then you can, you know, chuckle as Zucker comes in the table and has to deal with you.
And Kelly, here's the piece. In Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, he called on 4 institutions in the black community to do what they are required to advance the cause of black people. And one of those was the black press. And he specifically wrote that the black press must be militant in advocating on behalf of black people. And Kelly, there are a lot of folks, and again, this is not specific to your generation, because there are people who are Gen X, there are people who are baby boomers, who all know we all shouldn't be sitting here saying nothing. Why are you making all this noise? But I believe that this generation must understand that they must also be as aggressive in demanding changes and demanding a seat at the table. And the people out there who say, oh, why y'all begging white folks for jobs? Let me just go ahead and educate y'all that there are 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million of those black-owned businesses have 1 employee. That means out of the 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America, only 100,000 have more than 1 employee. So the reality is, black people in America are likely going to be working for white people. So to act as if that, oh no, y'all should just stop and create your own, that's not the reality. And the people who also are yelling, create your own, this is a black show that we're creating our own, but how many of y'all are willing to support? Kelly, your comment before we move to our next story.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think a major problem with my generation, the millennials in general, is that we have gotten complacent with the rights that we have because we've seen what our parents and grandparents had to deal with. We have voting rights, so we don't have to fight for that, quote unquote. Well, now we do, but eventually, like beforehand, we didn't. We have housing, we have voting, we have all these rights that our parents and grandparents fought for, and we feel like everything's okay right now. And the problem is, it's not. Just because you have basic rights doesn't mean you can't take a step forward and a step above and get even more rights and even more privileges that our white counterparts were practically born with. So, like you said, only 100,000 black-owned businesses can actually hire someone like me. If I'm not in that area, then I'm out of luck. So, white people have to hire me. Who else is going to? And millennials have to understand that not everybody can be an entrepreneur, where everything can't be instant. We can't all be Instagram influencers and Facebook watch people and all these things. Like, we have to have a consumer in order to be an entrepreneur in the first place. We have to have somebody to buy the product. We have to have somebody to actually do business with. So millennials have to understand that we can't just be complacent where we are. We have to keep going forward and getting the things that we frankly deserve.
All right. Then, of course, folks, you can always support Roland Martin Unfiltered by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. And, of course, go by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And then all the folks, of course, who are watching YouTube right now, you can also actually contribute right now, right there on the page. I already see some folks who have, and I certainly appreciate AFAB for doing so. And so anybody, of course, I'll say this here, who contributes literally during this live broadcast on YouTube, I'll definitely give you a shout out while you're doing so. As I keep telling you, we've got to fund our own freedom. And the reason we have organizations like NABJ, we are there to fight for black journalists. The B in NABJ stands for black. And so we're not going to relent. We're not going to back off. And so CNN has to understand we're not going away. We met with ABC on Monday. We met with NBC last Friday. We're scheduling meetings with digital companies. I've got an email today from a newspaper company out of the Southwest where they have some 200 employees, and they've got 20 executives and not a single African-American. Trust me, they too will be getting a phone call. This is what Dr. King told us to do. We must do it. And it's always been the case for black folks, standing up and fighting for ourselves. That's what we are supposed to do. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders, enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline is near March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB.Life, FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community, and we certainly thank them for being a partner here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.